Zeros between non-zero numbers are significant. So let's look at some examples. 40.7 has a total of 3 sig figs. So the 4 is significant, the 0 is significant, and the 7 is significant. Our next example is 87,009. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 sig figs. Zeros before non-zero numbers are not significant. So in this example right here, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 sig figs. And here we have 1 sig fig. Zeros at the end of a number and to the right of a decimal point and a non-zero digit are significant. So in this first example, we have 1, 2, 3, 4 sig figs. And for the next example, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 sig figs. And then next, we have 1, 2 sig figs. Zeros at the end of a number where there is no decimal point are not significant. So let's take a look at the first example. Here, we only have 1 sig fig. And for the next example, we have 1, 2, 3, 4 sig figs. And the reason why we have 4 is because of this decimal point right here. Okay, so now I'm going to cover rounding rules. Okay, so if the digit, okay, so for greater than 5, you're going to increase by 1. So I'll explain what that means. So here we're looking at 42.68. And if we want 3 sig figs, you're going to look at this digit right here. 8 is greater than 5. So that means when I'm rounding, we're going to increase the 6 by 1. So your answer will be 42.7. Okay, let's look at the next example. So it says less than 5, stay the same. Okay, so here you're going to look at the last digit, which is 2. 2 is less than 5, which means when I round to have 3 sig figs, I'm going to get 17.3. So notice that the 3 still remains the same. Okay, if you have 5 followed by a non-zero number, you're going to increase by 1. Okay, so right here, you have 1 and you have 5. So notice how 5 is followed by 1 and 1 is a non-zero number, which means that when I round, my answer will be 2.79. Okay, 5 not followed by non-zero digits, and there is an odd digit in front of the 5. You're going to increase by 1. So here's 5, and in front of the 5, we have an odd number right here. So that means when I round, I'm going to get 4.64. 5 not followed by non-zero digits, and there is an even digit in front of the 5. Means you're going to stay the same. So here's 5. This digit is even. So we're just going to stay the same. So our answer will just be 78.6. Okay, so now we're going to look at multiplication and division with sig figs. Okay, so first we have 4.44 divided by 2.0. And when you do that, you're going to get 2.22. Okay, so the way that you're going to figure out how many sig figs to include in your answer is by doing the following. Okay, so first, how many sig figs is 4.44? 3 sig figs. And how many sig figs is 2.0? 2 sig figs. So whenever you multiply or divide, you want your answer to have the least number of sig figs. So 2 is less than 3, which means that for my answer, I only want 2 sig figs. So my answer will be 2.2. Next, we have 3.0 times 3.33. When you multiply those two, you're going to get 9.99. Again, you're going to use the same technique. So here you have 2 sig figs. Here you have 3 sig figs. And 2 is less than 3, which means that for my answer, I want 2 sig figs. Okay? But notice, if we look at our rounding rules, we have 9, which means we need to increase by 1. So our answer will be 10, but we need to put a decimal point in order for our answer to have a total of 2 sig figs, because this will be 1 sig fig, and this will be the other sig fig. Okay, now we're going to look at addition and subtraction. So for addition and subtraction, the rules are a little bit different, but I'm going to walk you through the steps. Okay, so when you add 57.799 plus 100.32, you're going to get 158.119. Now, instead of looking at the total number of sig figs per number that you're adding, you're going to look at the number of sig figs that come after the decimal point. So right here, you have 3 sig figs. Right here, you have 2 sig figs, which means that for my answer, I only want 2 sig figs after the decimal point. And since this is 9, I'm going to round up, so my answer will look like this: 158.12. Okay, so now we're going to look at the next example, which is 100.32 minus 57.799, and that's going to give us 42.521. And you're going to use the same process. So here you have 2 sig figs. Here you have 3 sig figs. So in my answer, I only want 2 sig figs. The final number is 1. So that's going to give you 42.52.